When you think about Google, its dominance just feels like a fact of life, right? But here's the thing, it wasn't an accident. It's the result of a meticulously designed blueprint, a deliberate brand architecture that was built for global scale. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and deconstruct that very architecture. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the founding blueprint, then look at the massive Alphabet restructure. After that, we'll dive into the pillars of execution and how they cultivate brand trust. And finally, we'll examine the cracks that are starting to appear in that foundation. Okay, so every great building starts with a blueprint, right? And for Google, that blueprint wasn't really about tech, not at first. It was all about its core ideology. And this mission statement, this was the strategic anchor. This was brilliant. It positioned Google not as just another search engine, but as an indispensable global utility, like the water or power company, but for information. And this all flows from their 10 things we know to be true, which is basically Google's operational playbook. This user-first focus dictates everything, from that famously clean homepage to making sure ads are always relevant and clearly marked. At the end of the day, it's a promise of reliability. You probably remember their original motto, "Don't be evil." And look, for a startup, that's brilliant. It's simple, it's a clear moral line in the sand. But fast forward, and you're a global giant dealing with crazy complex stuff, evil just doesn't cut it anymore. It's too black and white. So that switch to do the right thing is way more realistic, right? It admits that you're in a world of gray areas where the goal is to navigate tough choices, not just avoid being the bad guy. So, you've got the ideology locked down. What's next? Well, the next big architectural problem was how to manage just insane scale and risk. And that led to the birth of Alphabet. And make no mistake, when Alphabet was created back in 2015, this wasn't just some boring administrative shuffle. No, it was a super sophisticated move to build a firewall, really, to shield the cash cow, that's all the core Google stuff, while letting the wild, risky moonshot projects go nuts without burning the whole house down. So you can see how this splits the whole ecosystem in two, right? On one side, you've got the super stable, incredibly profitable core services. We're talking search, Android, YouTube, the heavy hitters. And then on the other side, you have the wild stuff, the other bets. Think self-driving cars, crazy biotech. These are the high-risk, high-reward plays that are free to innovate and maybe even fail without dragging down the main business. This whole setup has a name in the branding world. It's called a house of brands, and it's a very deliberate choice. It's all about protecting the value of that main brand. So think about it. If Waymo, the self-driving car project, hits a major snag, the damage to the core Google brand is basically contained. It's a brilliant risk management strategy. Okay, but a blueprint on paper is one thing, right? It's totally useless without flawless execution. And Google's dominance, it's held up by this incredible consistency and quality you see across their entire ecosystem. Just look at the logo. Even its evolution tells a strategic story. That shift in 2015 from that old school serif font to the clean, modern one we see today, that wasn't just about looking cool. It was a totally practical move. They needed a logo that would look sharp and clear on any screen imaginable, from a huge TV all the way down to your tiny smartwatch. It's all about that scalable consistency. And then you've got the Google Doodles. These things are such a key strategic tool. They take what is basically a utility, a search page, and turn it into this daily dose of creativity and culture. Is how they humanize the brand and connect with literally billions of people. So, with hundreds of different products, how do you stop it from feeling like a total mess? That's where material design comes in. You can think of it as the official rulebook, the design Bible. It makes sure every single app and service feels like it's part of the same family. It feels reliable, and that builds incredible trust and credibility. And this right here, this is the result of all that relentless focus on consistency. Just look at Google Maps. Through just sheer product excellence, it's become functionally indispensable. A staggering 67% of the market. It's the perfect example of how doing something simple and doing it reliably delivers on that brand promise every single time. But look, being useful is one thing. It's not enough. A truly dominant brand has to build an emotional connection. So how does Google do that? How do they cultivate that trust and what marketers would call brand love? Okay, the annual Year in Search campaign, this thing is an absolute masterclass in brand storytelling. It takes something that could feel kind of creepy, all our collective search data, and flips it
It turns it into this powerful, empathetic story of our shared human experience, our hopes, our struggles, our wins for the year.
And the impact? It's not just fuzzy feelings. It is tangible and absolutely massive. Think about this. In a single year, the campaign generated over 4,200 articles of positive media coverage around the world. That's not just marketing, folks. That is cementing your brand's cultural relevance on a global scale. But of course, no structure, no matter how perfectly designed, is immune to stress. And today, Google is facing some really serious challenges. We're talking antitrust lawsuits, major data privacy scandals, and now fierce new competition in the world of AI. And maybe one of the biggest cracks in that foundation is the erosion of trust. This was highlighted by a lawsuit that is just staggering in scale. $5 billion. That was the price tag on a lawsuit alleging that the company was still tracking users' data even when they were in the supposedly private incognito mode. I mean, that strikes right at the heart of user trust. And here's the real kicker. This wasn't just some mistake or an oversight. No, internal emails that came out during the lawsuit revealed they knew the feature wasn't truly private. That kind of thing just demolishes the brand's perceived integrity. So, the fallout from that lawsuit? It forced some very real and very public changes. Google had to delete billions of private data records. They had to put much clearer warnings about data collection in incognito mode. These are moves that basically admit there was a major breach of trust, and they're trying to patch it up after the fact. So looking ahead, where does the brand go from here? Well, its future is now completely tied to its ability to lead in the next huge technological wave, artificial intelligence. Everything from self-driving cars to their cloud services, their leadership in AI is supposed to reinforce that original vision of using tech to solve the world's biggest problems. And that really leaves us with a big final question, doesn't it? As Google becomes more and more essential to how we live our lives, can it maintain that incredible utility while also earning back our trust through real, transparent governance? That is the ultimate test for this incredible architectural marvel.